She was murdered, I tell you, Danfield. I found her at the bottom of Pitfall Cliff.
You're sure she was murdered?
Yeah, look at the wound in her neck. You'll see. I loved her, Doc. I've got $5,000 saved up. It's all yours if you'll find out for me who murdered Dale. So I can kill him.
Dr. Daniel Danfield, student of crime psychology, has many times provided